Derrick Henry, the record-tying 99-yard run. That's courtesy of the Titans radio network on the call. And from the 1-yard line, thus making it 99, Henry goes down the left sideline, and he trucks A.J. Bouye. And I still don't know who number 48 was, and I have a feeling that number 48 may not be playing for the Jaguars much longer after that effort, although I don't want to take anything away from Henry. Henry was incredible on that play. I didn't know he could run 99 yards. It reminded me of the old Bum Phillips line about Earl Campbell, because Earl Campbell couldn't run a mile. He said, well, I'll never give it to him on first down in a mile. Well, it was essentially a mile that Henry migrated down the field last night to get that 99-yard touchdown. Leon Jacobs was the Jaguars player who had 3 or 4 or 5 opportunities to bring down Derrick Henry. Stats, as you pointed out, nobody goes low on Derrick Henry. Probably a good idea to not go low on Derrick Henry.
I'm just saying, the guy's like 6'3". He's a monster. You maybe want to go for his legs.
6'3", 250, yeah. But I don't even know that going low would be a good idea. I don't know how you approach a guy like Derrick Henry when he's running the ball and he's moving down the field. The guy is a giant, and he has been confounding all year long, right? Where has this guy been? His best game of the year before last night was 58 yards. His longest run before last night was 16. He had a 99 and a 54-yard touchdown run last night. He had 4 touchdowns in all, 238 rushing yards on 17 carries, a franchise record. And that's a franchise that includes Chris Johnson, obviously, CJ2K from 2009 when he had over 2,000 yards. And it goes back to Earl Campbell, the aforementioned Campbell, who never had a 99-yard run, that's for sure. Tony Dorsett, the only other guy in league history to do it. Dorsett did it in January of '83. I remember watching that game on Monday Night Football against the Vikings. The Cowboys had 10 players on the field. But I would say Henry's run was even more impressive because Dorsett basically made one cut and outran everyone. There was a guy for the Vikings that was kind of making a half-hearted effort to tackle him. Henry had to earn all 99 of those yards. And I still didn't think he was going to make it to the end zone. It was incredible. And the Derrick Henry angle took a game that otherwise would have been so boring that you would have found something else to watch. And it made it compelling because we wanted to see how many touchdowns he was going to score. We wanted to see how many yards he was going to gain. And there was a moment in the fourth quarter, after he got the franchise record of 238, Derrick Henry actually came out of the game with that football, that record-setting football, and the Titans were down in goal line area, and there was a clamoring at Nissan Stadium for Henry to get a shot at touchdown number 5. Now, Henry wanted to give Dion Lewis a chance to score, but eventually on 3rd and goal, Henry went back on the field. It was a run to the left. The Jaguars bottled him up, and they celebrated like they had just won a playoff game. And that's a bad look for a team that was that ineffective on Thursday night after shutting out Andrew Luck and the Colts on Sunday, to get shredded by Derrick Henry, to have no one on the field that would muster the will to even challenge Derrick Henry physically in a meaningful way, to celebrate because you tackled him once when you're down 30-9, bad look. And then on the next play, the Titans threw it to the end zone, and they broke up the pass at the back corner of the end zone, and they celebrated again. It's like, you're losing 30-9. Mute it just a little bit. I'm not saying don't show some satisfaction that you won that play, but don't act like you just won the game. That was that. Somebody texted me last night with another team and said, in that moment, you get an idea of a lot of what's wrong with the Jaguars right now from a cultural standpoint, because you shouldn't be celebrating to that level when you manage to keep Derrick Henry out of the end zone for a 5th time. That's nothing to, hey, he only scored 4 touchdowns on us last night. Take that. I'm reluctant to point this out. I talked about it on the radio side because nobody cares about anyone's fantasy team. But I have a feeling a lot of you out there went through the same mental gymnastics that I went through last night, but forgot to actually execute. When the Titans were on their first drive of the game, it dawned on me that I had not removed Derrick Henry from both of my fantasy lineups and replaced him with Spencer Ware, who's now the starting tailback for the Kansas City Chiefs after what happened with Kareem Hunt. And, you know, Spencer Ware in that offense, even though it's the Ravens, I was thinking he'll probably have a better game than Derrick Henry, just because Derrick Henry has been, for most of the year, not all that great, although in recent weeks he's been a little bit better. And I have never been so happy to have forgotten to do something in my life, because I just flat out forgot. I intended to do it, and I forgot to do it. And 47.8 points later, Derrick Henry had a huge night. And I got the impression a lot of other people did the same thing, although there were some people who did remember to bench him. How would you feel today if you had Derrick Henry in your lineup and you outsmarted yourself by yanking him for someone else? Although there was no reason. That's what makes it so amazing. Like when Tony Dorsett does it in early '83, he's Tony Dorsett. He's in the midst of a Hall of Fame career. Derrick Henry has largely been a disappointment during his time in the NFL. And he exploded last night. It was amazing. It was incredible. And it's one of those things. We've talked about this with other players, I think, Stats. When you have a game like that, that's like the kid that constantly brings home a C- report card, all of a sudden getting straight A's. You get a pat on the back from mom and dad, and then the next thing that is said is, why aren't you doing this more often? And that's going to be the question for Derrick Henry going forward. Right? What happened to the guy that we saw on that Thursday night in December against the Jaguars? Where is he now? Like, all of a sudden, the bar is higher than it was when Henry became a second-round pick. And there was a sense that Henry had maybe slid a little bit, that the Titans had gotten a steal with Derrick Henry when they drafted him out of Alabama. And you know that narrative with the Alabama running backs, that they're chewed up and spit out by Nick Saban and they have nothing left physically when they get to the NFL. Mark Ingram has done pretty well for himself coming out of Alabama and playing for the Saints. He's still going strong. But Derrick Henry making his mark last night. And if he can keep playing like that, and that may be a big if. And if the Titans can keep playing like that, and that may be a big if, because they've been Jekyll and Hyde all year long. 3 games left. Giants, I can't remember who they play after that. And then the Colts.
Giants, Washington, and the Colts.
Thank you. Well, you know, when I asked you last hour, you didn't know, so I didn't even bother to ask you this time.
I knew.
Giants, Washington, and the Colts. If they can play like they did last night, they can maybe steal that 6th seed in the AFC. Now, the Ravens are currently ahead of them, but the Ravens are playing the Chiefs this weekend. They may fall to 7-6, Titans at 7-6, and who knows how it goes. We were talking just the other day, which of the 6-6 teams in the AFC and the NFC have the chance to find the gas pedal down the stretch and crash the playoff party? And the Titans had the first chance to do it, and they found that gas pedal. Derrick Henry found that gas pedal, and no one from that Jacksonville defense wanted to make a meaningful effort to tackle him all night long. It was great to see if you're a Titans fan. It was not great to see if you're a Jaguars fan. Jalen Ramsey, star cornerback of the Jaguars, and the guy who had the first crack at Henry on that long run. Here's what Ramsey had to say after the game about the team's performance.
It was sad out there.
Why?
Because we got beat, what it looked like.
Henry hadn't done much. What was so tough about him tonight? Hadn't done much this year.
He did a lot tonight. That's all that matters.
I feel like guys are still giving full effort.
I don't know. Ask everybody else.
So, Jalen Ramsey accepting reality. The Jaguars now eliminated from playoff consideration. And what happens with Doug Marrone? Now, the win over the Colts on Sunday may have helped him. I don't know what Shad Khan, the owner of that team, is going to do. He's been firing the managers of his soccer club. I'm shocked that I even know that the term is manager, of his soccer club in England fairly regularly in recent years. Will there be a change at the head coaching position? Will there be a change at GM? Will there be a change at the very top of the football operation? Does the Tom Coughlin experiment end after 2 years? I don't know, but there likely will be more accountability than simply Nathaniel Hackett being fired as offensive coordinator and Blake Bortles being benched. It looks like they didn't even consider putting Bortles in the game last night when the game was out of reach. I think they want to see what they have in Cody Kessler, because I think they need to make a decision after the year what they're going to do at quarterback. And if you're a Jaguars fan and they expect you to show up and buy tickets, you'd like to think they're going to give you something better than Cody Kessler for 2019, all due respect to Cody Kessler. Stats, you've suggested that they should load up the cannon and trade for somebody like a Matthew Stafford. I first of all, I don't see the Lions trading him. I think the Lions are going to ride with him for one more year. I just don't think they need to be that desperate. And I don't know that Matthew Stafford's the answer. I don't know that you want to go all the way to the other end of the spectrum, although right now Stafford is in the middle of the pack. It's going to be expensive to get him. It's going to be expensive to keep him. I think there may be some options out there. There's going to be some guys who become available in free agency. Teddy Bridgewater is going to be available. Maybe they just, will they admit that they screwed up last year? They've already kind of admitted it by benching Blake Bortles. They could have had Teddy Bridgewater after the 2017 season as a free agent. Do they go after him now? I think he'd be perfect. There was talk of Eli Manning a year ago. I think he's playing his way into another season with the Giants. I don't know that the Giants are going to want to trade him. But, and also, here's the other thing with the Jaguars. After last year, they had that vibe of a team that maybe should just go all in, try to get to the next level. Do it for 1 year, for a short-term veteran quarterback. Now I feel like it's going to be a lot murkier because I don't know that next year you can say, hey, the Jaguars are just one quarterback away from making a Super Bowl run, and even if it's only a guy who's going to be there a year or two, let's do it. You know, like the Vikings when they went after Brett Favre in 2009. All of a sudden, the Jaguars have lost that. It feels like they have a lot more work to do on that team to get back to the point where they're simply a competent quarterback away from being a great team. But, you know, things can change dramatically for good and for bad. We've seen it change dramatically for bad for the Jaguars in 1 year. They could be right back in the thick of things next year, but obviously they're going to have a better quarterback play if they want to be relevant again. And meanwhile, the Titans are trending upward. The Colts are trending upward. The Texans are trending upward. This is becoming one of the best divisions in the NFL. It wasn't that long ago that the AFC South was just that division. You're like, well, one of them's got to win it. One of them's getting a playoff game and probably going 1-and-out in the playoffs. Now they've got viable playoff contenders top to bottom. When the last place team was a Final Four team a year ago, that's a pretty good division. So next year, who knows what that means for the Jacksonville Jaguars and the rest of the AFC South.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.